Good afternoon, everyone. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and I'm here as the host for Spiritual Infinity. And my guest today is Lucy Baldwin, who's in Connecticut. And just before we started the program, we were asking, I always like to know about the weather. It's freezing. I'm here in London, and we're like 9 Celsius. So it's not, it's cold, but it's okay. But they're below minus there. So I don't envy her. So Lucy today she deals in the planetaries, and I'm saying weaving her planetary magic and her knowledge, but how she got there is the interesting part as well. So I'm going to hand you over to Lucy, who's in Connecticut. Hello, Lucy.
Hello.
How are you?
I am great. It is chilly here. It is very chilly here today.
Chilly. It's freezing. That's not chilly. That's cold.
It is. I know it is.
Out,
Yeah.
but as I said, the sun shines on the Alps, but the snow doesn't melt, so it's cold. But so happy to have you on today, and thank you for coming to discuss your spiritual journey and how you got to doing what you're doing. So without much ado, I hand it over to you.
Okay. Now, yes. Okay, wonderful. Well, so I think that do you want me to work from here back, or do you want me to start at the beginning?
Start at the beginning, please.
Okay. So I had a very privileged childhood. I was born in Newport, Rhode Island, and my parents were both very career-oriented, self-made, successful people. And I went to private school, and I had no idea how privileged and how amazing my life was. Um, but I had the amazing gift of going to boarding school in New Hampshire, a very liberal boarding school. And it's interesting because, the cliches of these boarding schools are like these kids are, rich kids, lots of like drugs and kind of like naughty, can get away with anything. I would say there was definitely some of that going on for sure.
Nice.
Um, yeah, but the school that I went to was amazing, and we called our teachers by their first names, and they were really into the deeper things. Like, they really cared about community and connection, and there was amazing community, and there were a lot of off-campus programs where you did a lot of, like, leadership and group connection and learned how to, like, work together and solve problems and sort of, like, relational dynamics and stuff. So it was really advanced in a lot of ways. So I just want to get that off my chest, because I was extremely lucky. But there's this interesting thing where when you're with the people who are like the most privileged in the world, um, everybody still kind of has the same problems, like those same kind of like rots of discontentment exist everywhere. I think like a lot of us have this idea that, oh, if I just had more money, or oh, if I just had like, all of my stuff figured out, then I wouldn't have any problems. And it's like no matter what your station or situation, you're still you, and we're all deeply yearning for something.
Yeah.
And yeah, and money can't buy it.
Thank you for saying that. Money can't
Yeah.
buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting. But from a young age, I always wanted those deeper things. And I think that, like at Christmas, I always hated Christmas because it actually made me deeply sad, because what I wanted was a connection. And, my parents would just like buy me stuff, but like I didn't want the stuff that they bought me. Like it all felt wrong to me, even from a very young age. I remember just like crying on Christmas because I just wanted something deeper. And so that's just me my whole life, just kind of one of those like spiritual seeker people, I guess. Looking for something deeper. And I do feel like I got that in high school. Like I was able to touch into it because of the situation that I was in this school, which was just such a beautiful community. Um, but it kind of also we studied philosophy, and I was just really fixated on these bigger questions of like, what is the meaning of life? Like, what are we all doing here? What is my purpose? Like, what is going on here? I mean, I was really thinking about these things from a very young age. Um, and my family ended up losing almost everything, actually. So,
Can I stop you there a minute? Because you're saying you were asking these questions when you're at a very young age. How old were you?
well, the first time I remember asking like big philosophical questions, I think like 7 or 8.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember kind of like cornering my mom and being like, I have like a whole universe in my mind, and I don't think that you do. Like I was really like
oh,
accusational. Just classic like solipsism. Like I don't know that you're real kind of a thing. Like how do I know that you have what I have? And my
was
mom was not equipped to answer that question.
sorry, let me just say, was it that you, I know they bought you things, and this is the way they're showing you they care, but did you not feel loved, or you felt loved, but you felt empty still?
I did feel loved. My parents were very loving. I really can't complain about them. I did experience some childhood abuse that had nothing to do with my parents.
Okay.
Um, but they were very loving. They're
Uh,
very loving people. Yeah. I mean, when I say privileged, I mean, like, not just that they were doing well financially, they also, like, actually really loved me and took really good care of me.
mhm.
Um, but I do think that their priorities were not quite maybe like, you know, they were definitely, like, really caught up in the idea of success and working a lot and things like that.
Okay, fine.
Um, but I think but what ended up happening is that I did a lot of these kind of, like, intense, like, outdoor, backpacking sort of programs, like, backcountry programs. I went and hiked 600 miles of the Appalachian Trail. Like, I wanted to be in nature. I really wanted to, like, connect with nature and, have those kind of, like, really challenging experiences.
Yeah.
And I ended up discovering ayahuasca in, like, 2012 or something. Um, and this was after my family had kind of lost everything, in the 2008 market crash.
Okay.
So I got really into this medicine work.
How old were
Uh,
you then?
so I was, like, in my early 20s,
Okay.
and, I had a baby.
Mhm.
So, yeah, which was a very intense experience. Obviously, I was 22 when I had my daughter, and, that really like woke me up to life as well. You know, that sort of like there's the postpartum, like, oh my God.
Responsibility.
Yes, yes. But I got really into ayahuasca and was, like traveling all over the world, like drinking medicine and going deep into debt and thinking that, this is the purpose of everything. This to me was like the epitome of spiritual seeking, was drinking this medicine and having these like very intense, very challenging, but it would be like I would be so sick, and then at the end I would just feel so much love and connection, um and I just felt like that was the work. And I also got really caught up in the idea that that was kind of the only way to do the work,
Mhm.
that this is the way and this is the path and this is the
This
one.
is the ultimate, yes.
Yes. And like anything else is just kick, I just very young, very silly, but and very intense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Very, very
So
exploring, like most, yeah. We explore and want to know. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, it made sense. Like, the story I told of when I was young with my mom, when I went to my mom, I had this like awareness of my own mind as just being so vast,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
because in our mind, like anything is possible. And psychedelics do really show you the flexibility of your own mind and expand your mind in a major way. It was also extremely unhealthy, not just because I was ungrounded and going into debt and not taking care of myself or my life or just having any balance at all. It was also just, you know, um, like my body did not like the medicine and it didn't really agree with me. And I would throw up like before they would even finish like giving everyone the medicine and the opening ceremony, I would be throwing up and it just wasn't good for my system. So I I realized that so I was trying to surrender. Like I was really obsessed with being able to surrender. And I had this like idea that because it was so hard for me in these ceremonies, like because taking the medicine was so hard for me, that it was like I wasn't doing it good enough. And I thought like I have to keep doing it until I get better at it because it's me, like I'm not good enough because it's so hard. And if I could just surrender, it would be easier.
Yeah.
And so I'm not enough and I have to just do more and more and more to like I don't know, like prove that I'm worthy or
I think it's a case, as you said earlier, that you thought this was it, this was the ultimate. And therefore you just stopped there and kept on knocking away at that, thinking this was the ultimate. And because you couldn't do it, you're not good enough. And
exactly.
being young, you don't realize something pushes you to say to you, now there's other things, there's more.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of what happened. So, I mean, first I had to realize that this was an unhealthy dynamic. And I kind of woke up to this realization that the surrender, the true surrender is not like what happens after I take the medicine. It's surrendering to my own no to the medicine, like to drinking ayahuasca in the first place, because it was an actual no for me. But
Yeah.
I kept forcing myself to do it anyway because I thought that that was the answer and that I had to force myself. And so I realized that I had to actually just surrender to my own actual truth, which was to not drink the medicine.
I like the way you said your actual truth. Yes, everything is within and be guided.
Yeah, yeah. This is something I come to like more and more every single like day, I feel like, is this it's like this truth with a capital T. Like we all have truths for ourselves. Like things that are true for us to do or say or, be or not be. And I think I had this idea that we could all just be anything and kind of convince if we could just surrender enough, then we could make anything work for us or kind of fit into any place or role or situation and be happy. And I feel like that was very silly, sort of a silly notion.
Part of youth. Remember, you're in your young 20s and you think, well, this is it. I know it. This is what I'm going. It's part of you. And it's part of growing into that path of wisdom. This is how we get wisdom. We have to live it. We have to live it, go through it, unfortunately, to gain our wisdom, flex our muscles.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but somebody finally suggested to me, like getting into shadow work, actually, like this idea of working with the shadow, which I did sort of feel like, well, that's what this is, that's what this ayahuasca thing is. But I had some friends who were kind of, well, first my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was like, dude, you need to chill with this. This is actually like hurting you. So he called me out and he was right. And he was able to sort of, help me see how unhealthy my relationship was with that. I also came to this realization of, oh, the surrender is to stop doing the medicine. But even after that, I did it many, many times. I still was in it for like a year or two. Even after I realized that, I still like couldn't get out. I don't know. It was crazy.
What was it? You couldn't stop.
Yeah. And then I finally was able to let it go. And that's when I found sort of like shadow integration. And I started kind of taking online courses, and I took a course on magic, and that's how I got into magic. And yeah, I started learning about like the planets and planetary magic and a little bit about astrology, although I you did say at the beginning, oh, you're like an astrologer. I was like, no, 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 I'm not. I'm really not an astrologer, but you know, you work with the planets in astrology and you study the planets and their movements, and I'm really bad with that because my whole thing is like I just use magic, so I work with the planets as allies. And I think that it pairs really well with astrology, and I want to learn more astrology, but yeah, I learned about magic, and just like which is which is actually just a really beautiful way of communicating with my unconscious, and I feel like it gives me the same benefits as working with something like ayahuasca, you know, except it's way more directed. It's way more um, healthy financially and like for my physically.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. And also just yeah, it's more because when you drink ayahuasca, like you have no idea what's going to happen. And I was really like in the faith of it. There was a very deep faith of trusting that like the medicine is giving me what I need. And it did, you know, it gave me so much. But what I needed was to realize that it was a no and learn to honor my no and learn to kind of go easier on myself and that like loving myself doesn't mean torturing myself with something that is good for me, but finding paths that work better for me. And so that's what magic is. And I do get a lot of the profundity too that I would get with the medicine in ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you are, gone through this path in your early 20s, had a child, and going through this, and of course, to look for what's the purpose of life, because you said at the beginning you had all these thoughts as a young girl, and going through that path, now learning that no longer this doesn't suit you, and then looking at shadow work and going through into magic. So when that took you through into that section, where were you at your life stage at that time, and what is it that you wanted it? Well, it's always for happiness, and so, but what was driving you to go further and do things in your life to help yourself?
Yeah. Well, and I think that really is what shows the difference for me between like what was not a good path for me versus what was a good path for me. Because at the time that I kind of stopped working with the medicine and started doing this more like a shadow work, magic approach, my life was in shambles. I mean, I was very deep in debt. I was divorced. I had 2 kids, but I was living in a different state, but I had 50-50 custody. So I was driving like 5 hours to bring my daughter to kindergarten, like for like multiple days a week. I mean, it was crazy. Um, I had another relationship. I had another baby on the way. And that was also a big part of it. I was pressured to drink the medicine while I was pregnant. And that kind of woke me up to like, I don't feel like that is right for my baby. Like it doesn't feel consensual for my baby to like if I drink ayahuasca while I'm pregnant. So that was actually what made me finally stop, was being pregnant and realizing that it wasn't what I wanted. Um so I yeah, like I had a baby on the way. I was just really like I didn't have like a proper job or career or really anything to show for. Like I was kind of just like adrift and in deep debt and had lots of major responsibilities that I wasn't really able to kind of manage or handle in a way that was coherent at all. And so what I wanted was like, you know, a way to make a living. I wanted like a home. I wanted
Stability.
stability, stability and sanity, like a logistical sanity in my life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, that shook me a lot. You're pregnant, and they're forcing you to say how you're pregnant, but have it. And it's like, really? No, nobody should be pressured into doing anything that if it's good for you spiritually, you don't need to be pressured. You don't need to be pressured, because whoever's doing whatever it is, that should say to you, oh, I want that. Their actions should encourage you that I want that. But when it's going to be pushed and pressured, it's like, no.
Yeah.
The creator doesn't pressure you. It's your choice to see and walk that path of wisdom. And the fact that, as you said, you were in debt, you're divorced, your life wasn't good. It was like, so what was this ayahuasca doing for you?
Well, that's exactly it. And that's kind of what my now husband, was saying. He was like, look at your life. It is like a dumpster fire.
How is it helping you? Not at all. So therefore, this is not good.
Yeah. Well, I was in this sort of mode of justification where I was like, this is the like spirituality and personal development is the highest thing in my life. So everything else can kind of, is just to serve that. But the problem is that there's a complete lack of integration and disconnect, because the spiritual path should be carried in with me all the time. It shouldn't be something that you go out and do somewhere else.
Because you're on this planet, and as I say to people, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and therefore we're on this planet to experience all that it has, but also to enjoy. And in that experience, to enjoy, yes, we may make mistakes or whatever, but then we have the tools to know what to do to put us in a different direction to create the life we want to live. And therefore, we shouldn't be suffering and all that. It's because we're not listening and we've forgotten who we are. So therefore, this was not assisting you in living the life that you're meant to live, because we're all very higher beings.
Exactly.
So here you are having to realize this is not working, and it's by force, because of what you wanted from a young age to connect with that, spiritual side, to connect with the universe, to God. And it was there, and you're so desperate and thinking this is it, and then finding out this is not it. And this is what many people, and I know my guests looking at, there are many things we can do, but not all of them serves our purpose. And whilst everything is there for a reason, we've got to understand when to use it, when not to use it, what is right and what is not right. They're there. So you found this was not right. So then you had to, and another baby on the way with another partner, and he was probably saying to you, this is not right. And therefore now making your decision to go in a different direction, but still wanting that feel inside, still wanting something that you were looking for. And here you found it by looking at the planets. Now, doing that, how did your life start turning around?
Well, yeah. So I signed up for an actual, like, a coach certification program, which was like $15,000, which is kind of crazy now, because I'm like, I had less than zero money by a lot. But I think that was really smart, because it kind of forced me to, just like figure out my life in a different way. I was able to move, because my kids were in Connecticut, going to school in Connecticut, and I was living in Maine. So I was able to move. I moved to Connecticut. I went through the certification program. My now husband, was like finishing his PhD in chemical engineering. He moved down to Connecticut with me, and then we started working together and figured out like our financial situation and got our feet under us and had a baby. And and that like slowly started building together, and like slowly started, I did some like debt consolidations, and I was able to like pay off the debt. I mean, it took me a couple of years. I was able to eventually like buy a house. And I think that it was really all about, because I was putting so much energy into this like ayahuasca, and it was really like taking so much, because like I had potential, I had skills, and I was able to, like, as soon as I kind of like focused on, no, the focus is on my life and building my foundation. um and I worked with Saturn. So Saturn is one of the planets that I called in a major way, because Saturn is all about like the 4D reality, and Saturn sort of rules like structure and time and limitation, and kind of like I had to kind of face my own limitations, because the whole ayahuasca thing is like you're blowing out, kind of, you're like you're trying to connect with, you know something way bigger, and trying to like move into that sort of place of God, and like seeing everything, and the interconnectedness of everything, and just it's very, it's like really intense psychedelics. And so um and even though it was so hard, it's such a high, and so I needed to kind of like come back to reality. And Saturn to me was like a wake up call, like, no, we have to figure out how to show up consistently over time, not just go on these like big blowout psychedelic experiences. And that was, yeah, just I feel like the Saturn particularly, because I could never like show up for things day after day. I mean, I had kids, and I was like able to take care of my kids. That's just like I don't know, an innate like human thing. But besides that, I was just, my life was so chaotic, and I was so chaotic and inconsistent and incoherent. And so kind of like focusing on just building a little bit over time,
Yeah.
just
Step
and
by step.
yes, exactly.
And I think this is what life actually teaches us, because how old were you when you got to that stage, when you started to do your planetary calling on Saturn? What age were you then?
I was like 27, 26, 27.
Right, so you moved on a while, but in that, what you were coming to terms with is that, and you just said it, you have these blowouts and these feelings out there, but you've got to deal with what you're doing on this planet day by day, because you are that anyway, but it's how to use that to deal with this and to coordinate in harmony. It's like one extreme, and on Earth it's about balance. It's about balance and harmony, and using those on a daily basis to go forward and to experience. And here you are by 26 and 27, realizing that now you can call on this energy, and it's bringing you down to earth, and it is balancing you. It is making you face reality on here. But also, it's also letting you know that that power that's within you is there to call on the wider, to use in a way of wisdom to walk this path daily and in harmony and in balance. So at 26, 27, you were starting to do that, and with a partner that was balanced and can help you through that. So what was your journey from there on, when you now called on Saturn, and how did you then go forward, and are supposed to call on others as you went forward in your life, understanding how to use them to create the life you have now? Let's hear about that.
Yeah, well, so I actually started doing integration coaching.
Mm.
So this was I was like, oh, I had the big click, and I started coaching and doing like psychedelic integration coaching, actually. And I know that's like a big thing now, but there was not really anyone doing it then. Um, and I've since kind of moved away from that specifically, but like I started a podcast called Psychedelic, and I was working with people on psychedelic integration, because I was like, you guys, we need to integrate this stuff. We need to like think about our life. We need to bring this into our daily life.
Yes.
And so doing that also as something that I was offering helped me be able to, like, keep focus on my own sort of integration process.
Mhm.
And yeah, like working with Saturn. And I worked with Saturn for quite a few years and worked with kind of all the planets and did a lot of work with the planets before I started kind of like teaching and talking about the planets.
Mhm.
But I spend a lot of time like listening to people sort of share about their experiences and then kind of like helping them figure out like, okay, so like what does that mean for you? And my whole thing is like about the practical, like making it just like you're saying, like applying it to our lives and using these lessons to find balance for ourselves and discernment.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like any decision that we make, if we have this sort of deeper knowing about our life and who we are and what we're about and what when we understand like what is the meaning of my life and what are my priorities, it makes it actually a lot easier to make decisions and to be sort of conscious as we move through life, because we have something to like hold it up against. It's like, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? Well, which one's going to bring me closer to where I'm trying to go?
Yeah.
And we're able to make the decisions that aren't always the most comfortable, because the truth is that comfort is a major thing that people seek. And sometimes like we have to break out of our comfort zone to find what is true for us.
Yeah. Because listening to your journey again, here was your comfort zone in the past, in the psychedelics, because you thought, but it wasn't giving you the life you wanted to live. You were deeply in debt and you kept on chasing it, hoping that something will break so that you will start to live that happier life. And it wasn't happening. So here now you had to take the step back, look at what you really needed to do. And it was uncomfortable because it wasn't what you thought it was. And it's wrenching yourself. And now finding that and taking one step at a time and seeing that it's working and having faith in it. It's like drawing a map or having a flow chart, saying this is your goal and how are you going to get there and what you need to do and at what time and how, until it pans out. And it's that wisdom of walking in life that shows you step by step coming out of your comfort zone, because you know this is what is needed. And it's uncomfortable, but it's part of that journey of wisdom and looking back and realizing, wow. And it actually lifts you up and helps to flex the muscles. So here you are out of the comfort zone, but I'm sure now you're flowing back into your comfort zone and using those tools and sharing it with other people, because you had to go through it to understand it.
Yeah, but I'm meeting new edges. So yeah, and I think I do want to just make like, I think it was just very disembodied. Like the work that I was doing, it was so in my head and it wasn't in my body. And I kept asking myself, like, how come my like inner world isn't being reflected outward? I felt like I'm having all this amazing spiritual attainment and wisdom and lessons, but how come it's not showing up in the outside world? And so I knew there was this disconnect. I didn't know what to do about it.
Mm.
And so I just kept going back to the medicine until I stopped. But it is interesting what you just said, because you're like, and now you're back in your comfort zone. That is actually, I am in my comfort zone, like teaching magic now
Mm.
and doing the sort of online business stuff that I've been doing. But um my husband and I have a tech startup.
Mm.
And so that's the new sort of edge for me that I've been having actually a lot of resistance around, because we have some investors who are ready to invest in the business. And I'm just like scared, because as soon as we take somebody else's money, it becomes, that's deeply uncomfortable. It's terrifying. It's the responsibility and stepping into a totally new role. And
Responsibility. This is it. Something else on you, and you think, oh God, can I do this? It's not me anymore. I'm not alone.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting because people talk about like dharma and how we all kind of have like our work. And I do think that it evolves. And I think that's why like we can have dreams and we can achieve those dreams. And then I think we're hard on ourselves when we feel like when we get bored or we kind of get like complacent or we want to, you know, we want to change. Like we work so hard to get somewhere and then we get there. And then after a while, we kind of want the next thing. And I think that, yeah, we have this idea that there's any kind of like stasis that we could reach as people where then everything will be great and we'll just live happily ever after. And I think that even in terms of like our dharma, I think that it evolves. It's
Yeah.
like, and you know, this is how desire is too. It's like desire evolves through fulfillment. So as soon as you get the thing that you desire, your
So
desire changes.
mhm. Yes, I love when you say that, you know, and it's your dharma. And we have this idea once we get this, it's fine, we've got it. No, it's not, because once you get this, you're at that level, you are evolving, and it becomes bored. You become boring. So you need something else. So then you go again, you go again, you go again. And all these different stages, it's actually helping us spiritually to grow as long as you're walking the right path. Because
Exactly.
there's so much out there, and everything is out there is not bad. It's how you use it, and do you need it, and are you, and whilst you're using this, it's not right for you in this sense, you know, and therefore let it go and look for something else. But you know, because you felt it within, it wasn't right. You haven't got to what you want. And it is a stage and being authentic and listening, because what I'm hearing with you too, you weren't feeling it within. It was all from the head, but it wasn't coming from here, which is the heart, which is the connection to the creator of all there is. So it's not until you connect in the right way, then you can go forward. Doesn't mean there won't be any challenges. Yeah, there will, because you're going from strength to strength and flexing those muscles. So here, Lucy, I'm hearing you've got a tech business going, um, technology. It's not spiritual about God. It's a way of life, and it's making you feel excited because I can see it in your face. It's a new thing, and it's wonderful. And I totally understand what you're going through, because I've been going through the same thing. You know, you look at the spiritual side, then all of a sudden technology comes in, and you have to you have to come to terms that this is the way of life. How can you use, what can you do? And it's actually helping me to achieve what I want. But technology, it's wonderful. But I'm very lucky. I've got a son that helps me. He's technical minded. So when I don't want, I say, son, but it's another stage, and so I'm moving like you from stage to stage, and but you have your spirituality there to guide you. You never let it go.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it is interesting because I've been working and living kind of in this world of spirituality um and this new thing that I'm embarking on, it doesn't have there's no like magic or spirituality obviously because it's a actual like it's a technology. It's a water treatment technology. And so it's just interesting because yeah, there is no it's not like the thing itself that we're doing is not spiritual,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that there's no spirit. Like every spirituality is in everything, and that's the thing is like it doesn't have to be like that's what we're talking about for it to be completely infused with that.
I'm smiling because I want to stop you that, and I want to ask you. You talked about water technology. Tell us what it is, and then I'm going to say something.
Okay. So I don't know if you've heard of PFAS. They're called forever chemicals. It's actually a group of substances that never break down, and they've just been dumped into our environment, and they're really, really hard to destroy. And my husband invented this incredible technology that actually destroys the PFAS very efficiently. And so, just like building that technology and getting it off the ground and getting it where it needs to be to treat the PFAS.
Right now, I'm going to say something. This technology, there's things in the water that people dump into the water. This is, what's happening in the world. And it's harmful. It's harmful not only to human beings, but it's harmful to the sea world. We shouldn't be doing it because the sea world is part of the world and we should respect it. We disrespect it, the sea world, and we disrespect ourselves. Now, this same water, which somehow we're using the water, it goes through the system, and our government so-called purify it for us to drink, bathe, and water is water. We need it. But these things never get broken down. So eventually coming back into our system, that's going to do harm. Am I right?
Yeah, they've done blood tests. Like almost everybody has PFAS in their blood.
Let me stop you there. Okay. Now you just said it's not spirituality. I beg to differ. When you're working from your core, and we all are spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience. So we're here on this world to walk this world and treat it with respect. So when we do something that is challenging, then it's how do we overcome this? The fact that your husband has created that, and he's a spiritual being with a physical body having human experience, and he has principles, and because you're with him, I take it that he has a spiritual edge to him, because like attract like. You won't be with anybody that's not that way. It don't work like that. So he has that spiritual thing. And here he is, after going through his PhD and science and all the rest, the creator, whatever you want to call it, God, Yahweh, is working through us all when we ask, and that desire to help us on this planet to use things and to use it wisely. And where there are challenges, how we can change that to help ourselves, and the same will help the sea world. It is a spiritual thing because that's the time we're living in, when we're starting to clean up things, live in a different way, look at our environment, see how we can use those challenges and turn them around for the better. You are living a spiritual life. This is the time.
It is true. It is
Because
true.
works through us to help us on this planet. So we have people like your husband, like yourself, wherever, things are happening. Oh, this is not good. How can we overcome it? Your husband said this is not good, and he looked for a way to overcome it. That's the creator within.
Yeah.
And if we're doing that, it's going outwards to the country, maybe the world, to help us to clean up and change those things so we live a better life. Spirituality.
Yeah, it's true. And it's actually fascinating because
Your
my
boat
husband does,
milk.
he does a lot of work with Jupiter, who is the god of lightning, and the technology uses lightning. Well, it's plasma. But he basically produces lightning to clean the water. And it is like magic. The technology is like magic. It is genuinely miraculous how it works and how well it works at cleaning up the PFAS, and nothing else can do it. Like there's no other technology that can do what the plasma does, because it requires such intense like energy, and people have to put all these weird chemicals, and we don't use any of that. It's just, it is very miraculous, and it does feel like a synchronicity.
And now you work with the planets. But Yahweh, the creator, created everything. So we sit down, we ask the creator, how do we do that? And he's given us the tools out there that we can take and use to help us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're doing wonderful work, you and your husband. Wonderful work. It's helping us. It's helping humankind. We're in that time where things are changing. Mankind is starting to step back, and we're starting to realize, as you as a little girl, there's something more, there's something greater. You went that way, which was not the right. Now you had to come back within and then look again and work in a different way to harness that power. You're doing wonderfully. I'm so proud of you and your husband. You're helping us. My gosh, I didn't know. I didn't understand about the PFAS, and here he is, done his PhD. There you are, turning your life around, working with the planets. He wasn't working with the planets until you came along. You doing this, you're sharing with him. He's taking it on board. He's using it. Now he's working that to do all that to help us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you know?
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's intense though. It's very intense. And I can see how all of this, like what we've talked about, was necessary for me to be able to help him kind of bring this technology forward. And yeah, like every piece of the path has been necessary. There's just so much learning that goes with
Yeah.
and so much that had to that that we had to grow, both of us, to be able to have like a business, a real business.
Yes. You know, I love what you're saying. You said it's just part of it. The both of you had to grow. All those bits and pieces are now, and this is what people need to understand. It is a journey. It is a journey. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
Okay, so we went from 22 to 36, 14 years. 14 years ago, beginning the going through hell, but it was in search of that inner peace, that inner power of which we're connected to. You had to go through that journey and to come out to the way you are today. Young, and look what you're achieving for the planet. It's for the humankind, but it's for the planet because it's helping the sea world. It's wonderful. It's not just the sea world because we dump the water there, but our plants, because we take water to feed the plants, to feed the crops. You know, water is so important on this earth. And we are, we've polluted it so much and we wonder why things are not going the way. But we can clean it up, think differently, use it with respect. It's beautiful. So, Lucy, what are you doing now? Because you're doing this business, I know, with your husband with the water, but you're still working with the planets and coaching. And what are you doing with people regards to the coaching? How, have you written any books? How can people get hold of you? Come on, let's talk about this Planetary. How are you using that for the wider?
So yeah, I mean, I have written a book. I haven't published. I'm publishing it this year. I wrote it a few years ago, and I just haven't published it yet. But I have I have a free online community where I do a ritual. I hold a ritual every month. And so that's nice because and I also do connection game calls in that community. And then I teach courses mostly on like the different planets and planetary magic. So yeah, that's kind of the primary ways that people can find me. And
how can they connect with you? What's your websites? How can they get hold of you?
yeah, well, so if you go to lucybaldwin.me, that's where you can find my free community. And then you can get information there. I'm also on Instagram, lucy.baldwin.author. And I made it that like 2 or 3 years ago. I still haven't published my book, but I am doing it this year. So.
Don't worry, I'm in the process of publishing a book as well, and it's a journey. It starts in your mind, and you think, okay, and then you start to go, and then you start to find all these different things, but it's a learning curve along the way, and it's fantastic. It does take time. Mine is like 18 months. It's like coming on to 2 years, but from the time of concept. So, Lucy, I understand that it does take time. It does take time.
Yeah.
You're on Instagram, and so they can get you at lucybaldwin.me on your community. If they wanted to work with you, or the community that.me, is that also where we can join the once a month or speak to you to connect to get a one-to-one or whatever?
Yep.
So it's lucybaldwin.me.
Yep.
Right. So, Lucy, Interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'm saying thank you so much for you and your husband for doing that with the water. And I'm so glad you've got investors, because this is the time. And I wish you all the well, because I know it's going to work. And I know it can be scary. Each step can be scary when you're sitting back with the blueprints and the idea. And then when it's going out to the public, and you say with the investors, it's like, oh, it's really coming to fruition and coming out there now. So I really do wish you and your husband all the best with that. And before I say thank you and goodbye, can you leave us with a gold nugget or two of advice for those who are listening, what they can do along their journey to help them?
Yes, the most Saturn is kind of my number one for wisdom that has helped me the most. And I think the biggest nugget from Saturn is that it's just do a little, just do a little bit. Just start working on it. I think so many of us, we're so trained in our society to want like instant gratification and instant results, and so often we put off doing what we truly want to do because we know that it's going to take a long time. But it's like, imagine if you'd started it 2 years ago, and then where would you be now? And once you start doing it, even just a little bit, it grows so much faster. And so my advice is, whatever it is that you've been putting off or avoiding or too afraid to do, or just, that it's going to be a long journey, just start the journey. Just start now, even in the smallest way.
Wonderful. And you're absolutely correct. We're trained to think we want this and we've got to get it now. People do it. No. It's fine if you've got an oil field in your backyard and they come and pump it. Yes, you'll get it. But when you've got gold within inside of you, it's got to come out, and it takes that time to come out properly. As Lucy's shown, she went to ayahuasca wanting that, wasn't right. It's taken her time to be authentic and listen to that inner voice to guide you. Listen to that inner voice, and it is a step by step, but oh, what a wonderful journey. So Lucy, thank you so much. And for all those, as you say, lucybaldwin.me with the planets, they are there. Everything is there. The astrologer, when they're talking, this planet has gone into this, and this is going to happen, and that, and it does have an effect on us. So all those who are interested, contact Lucy. But for now, thank you all for listening. Lucy, thank you so much in Connecticut, and I hope the weather's going to improve. Well, we're in beginning of February. It'll take probably another month before we start going into our spring weather. But thank you so much for communicating and being on the show today. And everybody, thank you. Bye for now. Thank you, everyone.